Yay for us. And, you know, it's perfect because as we come into Sagittarius season, it is, you know, Sagittarius is a very positive sign. It is up, it's ruled by Jupiter, which is about expansion and optimism. So it's always great that, you know, we celebrate all these different holidays during this time. And they all, you know, whether it's Hanukkah or Christmas or solstice, Kwanzaa, they all have a spiritual or even philosophical quality to them. And that is the nature of Sagittarius. So let me just grab my notes. Did we take a deep breath? We're going to do some more of that. But yeah, this is a time that is generally jovial and bright. It's also, you know, the end of the calendar year. So it's kind of a time of review and planning for the future, dreaming the future. I think of Santa Claus as a Sagittarius, you know, very happy, jolly. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and start with a little bit of yoga. And we're going to, if you didn't take a deep breath, I'm going to encourage you to take more. So what we're going to start with is just bringing the shoulders up to the ears and taking a big inhale. We all look funny, huh? And then exhale, let it go. Ha, we're done. Ah, good. Wonderful. And then let's just circle the shoulders. We're going to focus primarily on the legs because Sag governs the thighs, the hips, thighs, and liver. So we'll do a lot of lower body, but I just wanted to open up a little bit with some upper body work. So let's go ahead, let's interlace the fingers like this. Take a big breath in and bring the fingers up towards the sky. And then release the breath as you bring the arms down. You can interlace the hands behind you and roll the shoulders back, looking up. And then bring the chin down into the chest. Keep the chest lifting, but see if you can just draw the arms away from the body a little bit. It doesn't have to be huge. Good. And release. Let's do a couple of side bends. So we'll bring your right hand to the floor and reach up with the left. Big inhale. On the exhale, just slide that right hand out as you bend from the waist. Try to keep the left hip grounded. And then let's look up at the ceiling underneath that arm. And then look down at your right hand. Okay, and we'll just push off and go right, right to the other side. So left hand down, right arm up, big inhale, exhale, bending, drawing that right hip down, really feeling the stretch between that push down of the right hip and the reach of the right arm. And then look up at the ceiling. Look down at the floor. And then push yourself up. And let's do two, we'll do some arm hugs. So big inhale, stretch your fingers. And on the exhale, cross your upper arms. You can grab hold of the shoulders, a little squeeze. You can squeeze in. And then lift your elbows up. See me right out in front. Take an inhale. And on the exhale, push those elbows forward as you drop the head and sink into the hips. And really feel that between the shoulder blades, the upper back. Oh, good. Okay. And then you can release and just swing the arms. I wanted to be colorful and jovial for Sag. No more black. Okay. Inhale, big wide. Hopefully you remember which arm was on top, because we're just going to switch the cross. Okay. And give yourself a little squeeze in. And then go ahead and lift the elbows up. Yeah, take an inhale. And on the exhale, push forward with the elbows, sink into the hips and drop the head down. Really push into that upper back, push into that space between the shoulder blades. Go. And then go ahead and release. Just swing. Okay. And one last kind of, I always find it silly and fun. And Sages are known for their senses of humor and playfulness, being silly. So I always love this breath, lion's breath, which actually does help encourage courage, instills courage, which is what we're going to talk about to manifest our goals. So the traditional way is sitting. Oh, and I'll pin myself. I'm sorry, I got everything here. Okay. So the traditional way is to sit in rock pose, sitting on your heels. If that's not comfortable, you don't have to do that. But when you sit in rock pose, and you can actually take your lion claws and place them on your knees so that you sit up nice and tall like this. Okay, so chest is lifted. And this is, I think we all know it. So this is when you inhale, then on the exhale, we're going to spit out our tongues. Your gaze goes up towards the third eye, and you make a big kind of guttural roar. So I'll demo one, and you can have a kick out of this. Okay. Okay. So we're going to do that 3 times. Get loud, get bold, get fierce. Okay. Now we'll get Yini. That is a pretty young form of pranayama, but now it's time to get Yini and talk about Sag. So because Sagittarius governs really the lower part of the body, I think when we get down to Aquarius, I think Aquarius is actually the knees, but Sag is the thighs, the hips, and I read today the liver, which I never knew. So we'll work on the liver meridian. So that'll work. So I thought what we would do is start with some dragons, which are the lunges in yin. So if you do have blocks, I like to do them with blocks. You don't have to. You could be on your hands. If you're on a hardwood floor, you might want to double up your mat if you're using a mat, or put a blanket down just to protect the knees. You can also actually use a bolster for the knee. So if you do that, and I'll just show it here in the screen, we'll start with the left foot forward. So if you're using a bolster, you'd put the right knee on the bolster and bring the left foot forward. Okay. So let's all do that. So coming into the position, I always like to start very upright in this very kind of more traditional way, where the knee is right over the ankle. And then we get Yini. So we grab hold of the blocks. If you don't have blocks, you're just bringing the hands to the floor. And what I start to do is walk this left foot forward a little bit. And as I do, I'm going to drop the pelvis. Okay, so this is when it gets really deep and yinny. So the only issue that can come up when you drop the pelvis is, I mean, the stretch will be here on the right side, and that can get a little intense. You can also sometimes feel compression on the low back. So if that's the case, don't go down as far. Just keep the hips up a little bit lower. I mean, ideally, you want to get some sense of release if you can, but only to the extent that it feels appropriate for your body. Okay. So starting here, we're just going to hold this for a while. So close your eyes and tell you a little bit about Sagittarians. So Sagittarians are, the sign itself is ruled by the planet Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion. It's the planet of luck and optimism. And all of those qualities are really exemplified in Sagittarians. So they tend to be obviously optimistic, friendly, adventurous, funny, curious. They're honest. There's a real love of truth in this sign. They also tend to be great teachers as well as great students. It is the Sagittarius rules the 9th house in the zodiac, and the 9th house is associated with philosophy, religion, our higher values, our deep values. It's also associated with ethics and morals and the law. So people have a lot of like negative aspects towards that 9th house. Sometimes it's an indication of legal troubles. I've listened to a lot of different astrologers, and I guess that's the case with president. So when you have a lot of activation in the 9th house, you might be starting a new study program. It's also associated with travel, and specifically long distance travel. So where the 3rd house in Gemini is associated with do more local travel, the 9th house in Sagittarius is associated with world travel and actually with other cultures. So people who have strong 9th house placements or a lot of planets in Sag usually are travelers. They usually like to get out and see the world because, again, that's another form of expansion. Okay, we're going to make a shift now. So from this more standard dragon, what we're going to do is bring the hands to the inside. No, I'm on the wrong side, right? Sorry about that. We have left foot forward. So bring your hands or your blocks both to the inside of that left foot. And what we're going to do, it looks like lizard in Hatha. If you can, we're going to roll to the outer edge of that left foot and possibly get down a little bit lower. So you could lower your blocks. You might even come down onto your forearms, if that works. And let's just hang out here for a little bit. Okay. Now again, remember Yin. We're talking about expansive and fiery Sagittarius. We're still practicing Yin. And Yin is about slowing down, going deep, but not to the point of extremity. So sometimes you need to find that edge and back up a little bit. Do less, stay longer. Okay. So we always have to talk about the shadowy side, some of the less optimal qualities of Sag is they can be impatient. They can be unpredictable. It's one of the mutable signs along with Pisces, Virgo, and Gemini. And that means that, yeah, they're not as, linear as maybe those cardinal signs or the fixed signs. They like a lot of options. So they can be unpredictable. They can be impatient. It is a fire sign. All the fire signs could be a little bit impatient. And they can be rather blunt. So they just, just can say it as it is, which from their point of view is very refreshing and honest. They're all about honesty and authenticity. But they sometimes like to shock others. They also, being a sign of kind of ethics and the law, they can be, if they get very rigid in that quality, they can become judgmental. So that's a quality to look out for. And sometimes a little careless or lack follow through. And that's just because they sometimes like to leap before, they thought out the whole plan. But that's what we love about them. Okay, in this shape, what I want to do, I wanted to have a little altar here, but it's kind of cramping my yoga space. But from here, we've got this left knee leaning out. And what I want you to do, if you can come down onto your forearm, your right forearm, either on the floor or on a block. Okay. And while this left knee is pointing left, we're going to take our left arm and stretch it over to the right. So you're getting a big stretch through the left side of the body. And we won't hold this too long. Okay, and let's slowly come back to center. Now we're going to make a transition from dragon, this is called winged dragon, to swan, which is the same as, I can't even, I lost my train of thought. Oh my God. What is this pose called? Why can't I'm having a brain freeze. Tell me, pigeon. God. I've only been doing this for like 30 years, but every once in a while. Okay, so if you are comfortable in this version of pigeon, I want you to look down. So all I'm doing is going from having my left foot flat to now moving it over to the right and lowering down. I'm coming down on the side of my foot. So ideally, if you can, this knee is out beyond your hip bone. And what I want you to be really mindful of is keeping the pelvis level. So what we don't want to do is just kind of dump the weight over here in the left. We want to stay even if that means staying up higher. If you're really comfortable and your knee's okay, you can come down to your forearms or all the way down to the ground. You could also grab a bolster or block to support. Now, this doesn't work for everybody's body. So if this is a no-no for you, an easier way for the knees, particular, to do the same exact shape is to do it on your back. So you would just do figure 4, taking the left foot onto the right thigh and drawing the right thigh in towards the rib cage. And if you're at a wall, you could even do it at a wall by pressing this right foot against the wall. Okay. We do have a few things happening that I want to tell you about. Is the new moon in Sagittarius is squaring Neptune in Pisces, but it means that the sun at a new moon, the sun and the moon are in the same place in the sky, and the planet Neptune is in the constellation of Pisces. So Pisces and Sag, they're both mutable signs. Sagittarius and is ruled by Jupiter. Pisces, the original ruler of Pisces is Jupiter as well. So we mostly associate Neptune with Pisces, but its original ruler is Jupiter. So what can come up when you have this square, this point of tension between these planets? With Neptune can bring up things like one can make you tired. It can make you unmotivated, you just can't quite, I don't know, finish all that to-do list. It also can stir up confusion. So when we have a square angle is more challenging than a trine or a conjunction. And so it tends to bring up more of the shadowy aspects of the sign. The square could also bring up some feelings of fear, perhaps around manifesting your dreams or anything else that might be happening for you right now. The positive side of this tension is it may in fact stimulate you to look more at, if you're looking at manifesting your dreams on this new moon, it might get you to look at a larger perspective. Both Jupiter and Pisces really take a bigger perspective on life. And that can be a good thing, to put our simple egoic desires in a bigger context of, how does this fit in with the world at large, with my bigger spiritual mission and path. So, all right. I'll go on, but let's take just a few more breaths here. And then let's slowly start to come up. Okay, so if you're on your back, go ahead and roll up and come back to a tabletop position. If you were down on the ground in Swan, you can come up. And we'll all come to hands and knees, and we're just going to swish the hips. And then we're going to lean into that right hip. So if you bring your knees together to touch, your hands are down underneath your shoulders, we're just going to lean over into that left hip. And then briefly to the right. Good. And then just feel your body. If you need to do a deeper release, like a down dog or something before we do the other side, you're welcome to do that. Good. And then when you're ready, let's come back to tabletop. Let me get my blocks again. And we're going to do that on the second side. So we'll take the right foot forward. And again, I just always like to start this way, just as a good transition in from a more active position to a yin position. So starting with the knee over the ankle, bring your hands to the floor to blocks. We're going to take this right foot for a little walk. I'm just bringing it forward to get me some space so that I can drop my pelvis. Now in yin, particularly with the support of the blocks, we actually allow for the knee to go forward of the ankle and even forward of the toes, which is typically a real no-no in a hatha class where you might actually be bearing weight. You'd never want to bear weight in this, a lot of weight in that way. But with the support of the blocks and with the soft intention, you can allow that knee to come forward a little bit. And again, just check the intensity in that left leg. That's really where you feel it. and also in the low back. If there's any low back pressure at all, just back it up. Okay. And then once you've got your sweet spot, just relax as best you can. Just check the intensity in that left leg. That's really where you feel it. And also in the low back. If there's any low back pressure at all, just back it up. Okay. And then once you've got your sweet spot, just relax. So right now, the sun and the moon are also square to Saturn, which is a very different energy than Sagittarius. So Sag wants to just jump off the cliff. Sort of like, if you know the tarot, it's sort of like the Fool in tarot. Just, here we go. And they've got a dog. Sagittarius usually are big animal lovers. So this is actually a good thing, because with that big inspiration and dream you may have at this Sag new moon, Saturn is saying, okay, great to have the passion, great to have the vision, the idea, but how are you going to make that real? You know, how are you going to actually bring it down here into this material plane and you know, be real and practical about how this flows out. A lot of the planets have been retrograde, and Uranus just turned direct last week. No, I'm sorry, Neptune turned around last week. And when we have the planets moving forward, that's generally considered a much better time to start new things or really get involved in things that need a lot of energy and work. It's just, you can still do it when things are retrograde, but it's like a little bit more like crawling through a little muck. Okay. Do a couple more breaths here. And then we're going to do that cross-directional stretch if you like it. Okay. So if you can, if it's not already, if you can bring your left forearm to the ground or to a block. I like it on a block. This right knee is winging out to the right, and we're going to take this right arm and stretch it all the way over to the left. So I have my arm, my hand on the ground. I'm stretching in opposite directions, which is creating a big opening now, my right side. So breathe into it. And then bring yourself back to center. We're going to transition now from the lunge, from dragon into swan. And so you can just remove your blocks for a moment or just push them to the side. You're going to walk or just slide this right foot over to the left, lowering that forearm, this lower leg to the ground. Ideally, you want the knee outside of the hip bone, if that's possible. If you bring the foot in a little closer to the hip bone on the left, it's easier than having it further away. That's more challenging. Again, you want to keep that pelvis level. That's really important. Don't do this dumping all the weight in the right side. It's better to stay up and be aligned than, you know, way down here, but have all your weight in the right hip. Again, if this is too much for your knee, you can do this on your back. Okay. So settle in, get comfy. You can prop yourself on bolsters, pillows. Getting into those hips. So tonight we're gonna dream a big dream. We're going to come up with a big vision for our lives. So this, when we talk about a manifestation or intention for this month, most likely, if I really get you to expand in a true Sagittarian way, these probably will take a little bit more than 28 days to fulfill, but it depends. Who knows? Miracles happen. So just kind of keep that in mind. And, there's so much information out there about manifestation. And some of it's good and some of it's not so good. But generally, there's similar themes that come up when people talk about manifesting. And it's that, in the energetic philosophies or traditions like yoga, like Taoism and Chinese medicine, everything is energy. And like attracts like. So a lot of the theories behind manifestation is that you create a vibration that you're wanting to attract and draw in. And you guys are probably all familiar with that. But I'm just going to, as we rest here in Swan, give you a couple other guidelines that can help in manifestation. One is we have to really claim and own our dreams. So how many times have you had these little secret things? Oh, I want to start my own business. But, when it comes to actually sharing that with someone else, you get all shy. You're like, oh, I couldn't really say that. So if you really want it, you got to admit it. You don't want to keep it a secret. You want to speak it out loud. And if you can't, that's a really good place to do some inquiry. Why? What's going on? Is it, deep issues around worthiness? That comes up a lot for us. Even if you appear to be, confident, we all have these shadowy aspects of ourselves for whatever reason. Some level of the not good enough story seems to come up with most humans at some level. So we got to claim it. We got to own it. And we have to let go of our resistance. This is the hardest thing. And this is why so often things don't manifest, or they don't manifest in the time we want, because we may be saying, oh, I really want a new partner. We're saying that on one side of our mouth, and the other side is going, no way, no how. I am closed for business, because we're hurt and we have these unconscious patterns that are working. So this is the challenging part, and takes, sometimes a lot of uncovering. We talked last month a lot about the shadow and how the shadow, shows up in our unconscious behavior when we don't own it. But, on the most basic level, we need to address our fears and doubts. Okay. Creating small steps along the way, really, really helpful. We tend to always just think of the big picture and just kind of want to get there, just snap our fingers. But the more concrete we make it, that's how manifestation actually happens on this plane for the most part. Also, doing something every day. If you have something you're trying to manifest, even if it's just something small, you want to always keep the energy moving, doing one little piece every day. We're going to talk about feeling into the felt sense of what we want to manifest. Also, thinking about becoming your future self, visualizing yourself as if this manifestation has already occurred, creating a relationship with your future self. And then belief. And this is where that really good Sag energy comes in, because they are people who have faith and trust in life. And you got to believe that you are actually limitless, and that we're so much more. And we're so much more powerful than just these small beings that we sometimes get caught up in, these small egos. We are actually part of this collective field that really anything is possible. So we got to trust the process. And, one thing that can be very helpful is asking for signs and signals, to help guide you towards that manifestation. And then there's one great practice that's always helpful, but we're going to come out of this swan. Yeah, so just slowly release. If you're on your back, you can roll up to seated. If you're on the ground, you can come to tabletop and just swing the hips. Once again, we'll lean into the hips. And then the other way. You want to do a down dog, or just stretch out the legs from a tabletop position. That's nice. And after you've done that, go ahead and lie down. You could either lie down or sit up. We're just going to do just a brief little exercise. So one of the greatest energizers for manifestation is gratitude. It's so much easier to start to create new things when you actually appreciate and are gracious about what you have and what you've already created. So for one, it helps you realize that you are a creative being. You look at your life and all that has happened, good and bad, that was manifested. And even the things that you're like, oh God, yeah, they were important too, because at the very least, they helped you realize what you don't want. So gratitude puts you in this place of grace. It elevates your energetic vibration, which is very helpful for drawing in positive things. So let's take a moment, and you could look back over this year and just think of the things that didn't exist before. Any trips you made or any achievements you were responsible for, experiences. Were these things that you consciously called in? And it doesn't matter, it's fine if they weren't. I mean, we're always creating, whether consciously or unconsciously. We do it consciously, we get more for, we think we want. So just really feel some deep appreciation for one or five or thousands of things that you brought into existence this year, either through your hard work, through luck, through your spiritual connection. And just give thanks for the fact that you are a creative being. You do have a lot of power. Okay. Let's go ahead at 7:17. What I want to do now is come into a real nice resting kind of restorative pose. And I think what I would suggest, and you can do something else if you choose to, but I like a supported child's pose. So if you have a bolster, that's great. particularly if you elevate it, you just take your knees wide, big toes together, and rest. That's nice. You could also align your back and do teddy bear pose. So this is when we take a bolster or pillow on its side and then wrap our wrists around it, wrap our ankles around it. That can feel very soothing. You're always welcome, although we often end up there at the end, just so you know, but like we can never get enough of this. Reclined butterfly or Supta Baddha Konasana. So just pick a pose, that shape that feels really good, really nourishing, because we're going to talk a little bit about fear. Not everyone's favorite topic, so I want you to be comfy, cozy. Okay. So when we think about the big vision for our life or big dream, it's just natural for any change. Maybe if we're just, deciding to take a new route home, there's always a little bit of fear in change. And the bigger or the more passion around a particular desire tends to bring up bigger fears. So that's natural, that's normal. But what we want to do, we want to notice fear, we want to feel it, but we don't want it to take control over us. Because you've probably heard this, but fear, I don't know who created this as an acronym, but some people say fear is false evidence appearing real, meaning that when we feel fear, typically we are projecting suppositions into the future. We're thinking about things that might happen, but they might not. And so it's always important to challenge and question the fear. Why do I think this would happen? How do I know for sure this would happen? So I want you to just take some deep breaths. Another thing that can really help us put our fear into its place is to take a larger perspective on life and on situations. Remembering, I think I said this in my email, but if we remember that all experience is purposeful, all experience can give us the opportunity to grow and to learn and to become better people, to be clearer on our desires. If everything has purpose, or that we can learn and grow from everything, then there really are no mistakes. And if you take it another step further and go a little deeper spiritually, if you're able to connect with that part of you that is not just this little ego, but actually something very expansive, divine consciousness itself. Well, for one, sometimes that our more egotistical desires are not that important, but we also realize that our soul's trajectory goes beyond this lifetime. And what we see as reality here right now is like one slice of what is really possible. So keeping that bigger picture in mind can be really helpful. Okay. So as we're resting, let's think of just a typical fear, not a real big one, but just like, that kind of, oh God, being late, or if that's a fear for you, it's not a fear for everyone. I don't know, embarrassing yourself, things like that. And I'm bringing this up just so that we can look at where do we experience fear in our bodies. For a lot of us, it's clenching, a clenched jaw, a lot of fear comes up in the belly, the heart, the chest can get tight. So just noticing where you experience fear. And then just notice how your mind has some control over the direction of sensation in the body. So if you really feel into it, and if you bring your awareness there to, say, your stomach or your chest or wherever you tend to, your jaw, tend to really feel fear, you can first start by offering compassion to that part of your body and to that fear. It's okay. It's very normal to experience. And then consciously just offer words of soothing, nourishing energy. So it's okay. You can relax, jaw. It's okay to soften belly. I'm here. And a lot of times, even warming the hands and placing a hand like on your chest or your arm can be very soothing. Another thing that can be very helpful is to do sort of worst case scenario visualization. So this, I was actually working with a therapist once when I graduated from graduate school and I was struggling to get a job. And so he would have me visualize going into a interview and imagining all horrible things happening, like falling down, stumbling over my words. But you don't just in there, you kind of go through that, you sense that and what that would feel like, but then you experience yourself moving past it, recovering. Yeah, you do that, and oh, that's funny, I'm human. And then then I offer this incredible answer to your question. And what that does is it's like an inoculation. It lets you experience in a safe way a fear that you might have. It lets you experience overcoming a fear, that's possible. If it's in your mind, you practice that. And it just gives you practice. So they use that technique a lot in sports psychology and performance psychology. So let's just, for the sake of practice, let's try. Let's think of like one thing, and if it has to do with a dream you're trying to manifest, that's great. Like, what is one fear that you really kind of holds you back? And you can have a lot of fun with this because you can imagine like the most bizarre craziness happening. So if you, I don't know, you can imagine almost in a cartoon-like way. But then see yourself recovering somehow. You've just met this great new person, you're so excited, and you see them, you're going on your first date and you fall down and you spill drinks all over this person. But then you recover and you are able to demonstrate your kindness to this other person and offering them towels and all kinds of warmth and love, and then you see them, the other person, appreciating you. And you didn't die. You moved through it. Okay. So let's go ahead now and bring the knees into the chest and just rock a little bit. And we're going to rock all the way up to seated. do just a few more poses and then we'll come into our deep intention setting. Okay, once you're up, if you can, I would like to do a little bit of squatting. So this is the way we typically do it in Yin, a wide knee squat with the elbows to the inside of the knees. And we are using a little bit of action to lift the chest up, mostly so we can just let the hips drop and hang. If this doesn't work for your knees, you could also do it with the knees straight over the toes, which I find actually much harder. You can do it at the wall, where you take the weight against the wall. So that's actually can be pretty comfortable, or you can do it on a block. Just opening up this area here is a great way to do it. If you're tired, I really recommend this. This is actually stretching the liver meridian. So we're getting some liver work into. Okay. Nice. Really good to write down fears, even keeping like a fear journal. That sounds like very much the opposite of a gratitude journal, but it's a place where you're acknowledging them and closing it. So it's not just in your brain rattling around and causing havoc. You get it. It's a way of getting it out and looking at it, and the more we can sort of take that step back and take a look at our fears from a little bit more of a distance, a lot of times we realize that they don't always have that much validity. Okay, so just a couple more breaths here. I love to squat, but I know not everyone does, so. Okay, now watch what I'm going to do. I'm just going to bring my hands to the ground, and we're going to slowly come to standing for the one rare standing yin pose, which you can do at the wall. That's how I like to do it. We call it dangling. All these mysterious yin names. So I take, again, the weight in my hips against the wall, and I have my knees slightly bent, and then you just drop and hang. Now, if you prefer, you can do this just as a forward bend. Just keep the knees a little bit bent if you're doing it away from the wall as well, just so everything stays loose. And if this is too much, even with the hips on the wall, you can always do an L-shaped forward bend like this, placing your hands on the wall. All right, spinning. And then your body's in an L shape. Long, deep breaths. So imagine resistance, fear, all the stuff we lay on ourselves, excuses. Does anyone have it's actually often a sign of perfectionism when you procrastinate. It's like, well, when after I read one more book, then I'll do it. Or if I just take one more class, that's me. I'm outing myself right now. Just let all that drop to the floor. 3 more breaths. Good. Now, if you have the hips at the wall, you can just slide the hips down because we're going to stay close to the wall. If you're free form, what I wanted to do was spend some time in legs up the wall. So if you have an easy spot to do that, a clear spot on the wall, you're just going to swing your legs up like that. If you don't have a good wall spot, you can always use the back of a chair, put your legs up here like on a sofa. So just get your feet up higher than your heart. Just find a nice space. I love the wall because it allows for a little bit more practice of the variations, but we're just going to work with what we have. I want you to get comfortable. Sag loves newness. So it's always great to have the body in a position that it typically isn't in. So at least the legs are feeling a reversal in the flow of blood. Okay. Get comfy wherever you are. I'm going to go into a little deeper meditation now to pull out some of these big dreams. So once you're comfy and legs up the wall, start to bring the breath down into your belly. And if it's helpful, you can even put a hand on your belly just to feel it rise and fall with each breath. Relax your shoulders. Just really feel into the support beneath you, beneath your hips, beneath your torso, beneath your head. Just feeling at ease, feeling relaxed. I want you to imagine that you're floating in a hot air balloon. And you're smiling. Temperature is perfect. And what you're doing is you're looking out over the course of your life. So as you float, and you see all these sort of like lands in Disneylands, all these different time periods of your life, these different events. And there have been wonderful moments, maybe even ecstatic moments, moments of joy and accomplishment, love. And then there's been mistakes. There's been disappointments and heartache, suffering. That's there too. That's part of the human experience. That is not something unique to you. It's nothing you did wrong. We all are here to learn things, to grow and to understand, and to become ever more compassionate. But as you float, you're looking at everything. And you start to imagine what's over the next hill, which is what is yet to come in your life. You know, those hidden dreams, maybe you've never shared with another person. Or that list of things you always wanted to do someday, like learn the piano or Italian, or, we all did that during COVID, right? We all learned Italian. But the things you didn't get to during lockdown. No, I never even cleaned out my closet. So, yeah. But I have always wanted to learn to ride a horse and to actually, I used to play piano, but I don't. So those things, those passions, those dreams, passions that we've forgotten about or neglected, painting, or running, or jigsaw puzzles. Okay. So looking at the life that you've led so far, imagining what's there over that next hill. Just for a moment, contemplate, where have you limited your potential? In what ways? Or in what areas of your life? And just let whatever floats up into your consciousness be there. Where have you limited your potential? What limiting beliefs have held you back from embracing a larger life? Or kept you from manifesting a particular dream or dreams? What limiting beliefs? And here's an interesting question. It kind of dovetails off all that shadow work we did last month, but what or who do you envy and why? What are they, or what do they have, or do they do that creates that feeling of, I want that. Or I wish I had that, or I wish I was that, or I wish that was in my life. Why do you think that wouldn't be possible for you? Okay. So again, just noticing what comes up. Notice any sensations that come up in your body with these kind of triggering questions. Just noticing that. And you can write all about this tomorrow. But for now, before we venture over the hill, I want you to look around at a different land. So we're just pivoting a little bit in the balloon. Your life's all behind you, what you've lived so far. You're looking over here in a different area. And I want you to see out in this landscape what really excites you. So you're seeing all these things that excite you or that inspire you. What's there in this area that inspires you? What are you curious about? What do you want to experience or know more about? Come to understand. What do you want to feel more of? Where do you need to, or where are you ready to take a big leap? Where do you most want to take a big leap? And then the question of the hour, what would you do if you weren't afraid and knew you could not fail? Let's really feel that. If you are at the wall and want to do, or in a place where you can do some variations, you might possibly bring your legs out into a wide V. You could bring the legs together, the soles of the feet together and butterfly. Might be hard to do if you have legs up the sofa, but if you are at the wall, you can even do like happy baby at the wall, or it's a version of frog at the wall, just bending your knees, having the feet wide like this. Okay, so we'll just take a few, maybe like 5 more minutes here at the wall or at the sofa, and then we'll go into Shavasana. So what's over that hill for you? Are you ready to look? So this new moon is a time to plant a big seed. One, we've got Jupiter supporting us, Sag. We also, last night in class, we talked about the 12-12 portal, a time, there's certain energetic vortexes, throughout the year, usually aligned like with eclipses in Vedic astrology. They very, very much have these dates that are considered times for greater opportunity for spiritual advancement, higher consciousness. And 12-12, at least according to some people's beliefs, was one of them. But what I read is that the window of this energy is really between 12-12 and the winter solstice. So from now until the 21st, we've got this extra boost of really connected, higher consciousness energy. So let's use it. And I want to challenge you to dream past your normal limits and just call in the unimaginable. Feel the possibility of your life. This is the new moon. This one, it's a great one to take a leap of faith and just leave your comfort zone. Okay? I mean, let's just shoot for the moon. We could always, what's the phrase? Shoot for the moon. If you miss, you can write a star. I don't think I got it quite right, but it's something like that. You see it on a lot of mugs. Okay. So as we start to move over this hill, I want you to see your future life all in front of you. And you can even widen your perspective to see the ongoing cycle of energy and know that your journey is so much more than just a snapshot of a scene. Can you actually feel into the truth of your life and the higher purpose of this incarnation? I mean, yeah, we all want a bunch of money and, be beautiful and successful. But really tap into, what does your soul long for? And just see it as real. See it just like you saw everything that came before this moment. See what's in front of you. Assume that miracles are real and that what you desire can manifest. So at this point, if you're comfortable where you are, you can stay. If you prefer to come away from the wall or the sofa, wherever you have your legs up, you can come and get comfy in Shavasana. We're going to stay with this. We're going to go even a little deeper. blanket, turn off the lights if you want to. Okay, seeing this big picture of your life. What is something specific that you would like to manifest, that you would like to use this exciting energy of this moment and to help you? What seed do you want to plant? Okay. Okay. Now, what do you want to feel when this is manifested? Because I want you to feel that now. So I want you to use every skill you have to create this feeling inside. Images, memories. What does this feel like in your body to have this dream manifested? And really see yourself, you having manifested this. What are you doing? What are you saying? How are you feeling? This has already occurred. Don't worry about the how right now. We're just feeling ourselves in this new reality. Know with every ounce of your being that this is already true. Because it is on some dimension, for sure. You know, we're working on multiple dimensions all the time. Know that your intuition will lead you to the steps. And you can even look at yourself in the face. You're looking at the person, the you that has manifested this. Look at them. They overcame their fears, their resistance, their inertia. Aren't you proud of that future you? And now, if there's a nagging fear, hesitancy, ask this future version of yourself who's so much wiser for any advice or guidance. How could I move past this issue, this fear, this resistance? And the answer might not come with a clear, bullet pointed memorandum. It might come as a feeling, it might come with symbols, images. Just trust. How did you do it, future self? You make it look so easy. And then the future self says, yeah, it was. Okay. Now, if you can turn this into a statement, an affirmative statement, using the present tense, I am the queen of some new country. That would not be my dream, but anyway, whatever your dream is. Put it in the positive present tense. I am ba 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 ba, and I feel ba ba da ba da. I am so happy as I'm sitting here in my new house in Hawaii, where I grow organic food and share it at the farmer's market. It always helps too if you can connect and put it in a context that also involves in somehow contributing to the world. May I manifest this so I understand my power, the possibility of my power, that I am infinite. And remember, no matter what dream you have, right now, you are still perfect and whole. So I'll take a deep breath. If you don't already, turn your palms up so you're in a very receptive space. Feel your breath rise and fall. And just let these words sink into your mind, sink into the cells of your body. I am courageously moving forward towards my dreams. I am deserving. I am limitless. I am focused and clear in my direction. I am powerful. Everything is possible. I am free. May everything we create be for us, be for our highest good and for the highest good of all beings. So be it. Let's all take a deep breath in. Long exhale out. We've been on quite a journey here. The centaur. If you need more time to rest in Shavasana, that's always an option. If you're ready to go, live the dream. Starting tonight, go ahead and roll to your side. And just take a moment again to thank yourself. Thank yourself for taking the time to dream, to vision, to address fear. As you feel ready, if you're getting up, let's make our way to seated. Some places it's very dark. Yes. Okay. If you are upright, go ahead and bring your hands together at your chest and just feel your sit bones connect with the earth. Feel that sense of groundedness. And from that place of security, take a deep breath in, sweep the arms out and up above your head. And then exhale, bring the hands back down to the heart. May all our dreams come true, and may they be for the highest good of ourselves and all beings. Namaste.
Thank you.
And yeah, have fun. Let me know. Let me know how the dream's doing, okay? Take care, guys. Bye.